Hello, my name is Helen Argueta. I will be reviewing the FY 2018-2019 budget for the City of San Fernando, California. Under this review, we'll take a look at the budget type, major expenditures, some goals identified in the budget, revenue sources, budget goals, and a specific department budget. Historically, settlement began between 1800 to 1840s. The city grew out of the ranching activities surrounding the San Fernando Ray Mission, which still stands today. San Fernando enjoyed a brief gold rush in the 1840s when nuggets were discovered in a nearby canyon. By 1874, San Fernando became the valley's first organized community, so earning the title of First City of the Valley. The city's founding in 1874 was driven by a land boom in Southern California, as well as the construction of the Southern Pacific Railroad's rail line between Bakersfield and Los Angeles, between Fremont Pass. San Fernando became known as the railroad's gateway to the north, known for great climate and deep wells that provided water for irrigation. That independent water supply allowed San Fernando to remain autonomous and incorporated on August 31, 1911. The city's government is comprised of a council-city manager form of government. Its governing body consists of 5 city council members elected to overlapping 4-year terms. The city council selects the mayor from its membership. The city manager is appointed by the city council. The city has a number of services it contracts out. These include the fire and emergency medical services, solid waste disposal, animal control, street sweeping, and its city attorney. The city of San Fernando is located in the northeast section of the San Fernando Valley, at the southern foot of the San Gabriel Mountains. It's approximately 2.4 square miles of space, which is very little space for a city. Regional access to the city of San Fernando is possible from 3 main freeways: Interstate 5, State Route 118, and Interstate 210 freeway. As you can see on this map, the city is located fairly close to the city of Los Angeles. It is about 23 miles from the major city. The demographics according to the ACS 5-year estimates from 2012-2016 identified in the budget is a population of 24,396, with 92% being Hispanic or Latino and only 5% white. 40.35% of the population is between the ages of 10 to 34. The median household income is $55,734. The number of households is 6,386. Median single-family residential price is around $500,000. Median gross rent is $1,189. The economy. Local sales and property taxes have demonstrated a consistent pattern of growth over the last 10 years. The decision by Sam's Club to close the San Fernando location had a significant impact upon local tax revenue, as it was one of the city's top 5 revenue-generating businesses. It is expected that space will likely remain vacant through 2018-2019. Revenue projections have been adjusted to account for the loss of Sam's Club. Some of the major employers in the city are LAUSD, which employs 16% of the population. Pharmavite has about 3%. Los Angeles County Superior Court has 2.32%. Pepsi Bottling Company has 2.25%, and Home Depot has 2.13%. The budget type, as stated in the budget message, the budget is a maintenance of effort budget, which means it is based on providing the same level of service as fiscal year 2017-2018. The budget is set up as a line item budget since it shows the comparison between the financial data for the past budget periods and estimated figures for the current or future period. Here's a quick overview of the budget. The total adopted budget represents about $40 million. The total general fund budget is about $19.5 million, with the major source of revenue coming from sales tax at about $5.1 million. Other taxes total about $4.5 million. Combined, these two taxes make up 53% of the city's revenue. The city's general fund has been in a deficit fund balance position since FY 2010-2011. The city took a number of steps to stabilize ongoing finances. Many of these were short-term fixes that were necessary to remain from becoming bankrupt. In FY 2013-2014, the City Council began to develop and implement a multi-year deficit elimination plan. The plan aims to pay off debt, reduce ongoing expenditures, and increase ongoing revenue. In 2013, the city declared a fiscal emergency and held a special election to introduce Measure A. This is a temporary 1/2 cent local transaction and use tax, which was approved by 60% of the voters. This tax will bring in around $2.4 million. We will talk about what Measure A funds are being used for a little later. Included in the budget document is a budget message written by the city manager. This document includes the city manager's budget message, which formally introduces the budget to the city council members. It outlines the total budget expenditures and provides the principles used to determine the budget priorities and goals. It also provides a brief overview of the federal, state, and local economy outlooks and how these may affect the city budget in the future. The budget guide is also included in this document. It provides an outline of how the budget document was created and the different steps taken to get to the approval stage. It goes into the budget development process and timeline, as well as the budget adjustment process. It has information on the different fund structures, the operating budget, capital budget, and capital improvement program. Here, I've identified some revenue sources, goals, major expenditures, and some points of the economy that were also identified in the budget. Their primary revenue source, as I mentioned, is their sales and other taxes, which is about 53% of the total revenue. Since October 2017, the sales and use tax in LA County is around 9.5%, of which 1% is shared with the city of San Fernando. In addition to the state, county, and local sales and use tax, San Fernando has a local 1/2 cent transaction tax. Funds raised through the transaction tax are vital to the city's short-term viability, so they will see some revenue coming from here. Some goals directly identified in the budget are to adopt a balanced budget annually, continue to implement the deficit elimination plan to eliminate the general fund deficit, implement strategies to control pension costs and limit increases, regularly review and update all financial policies. Under major expenditures, the most significant driver of expenditures is labor-related costs. The city recently completed negotiations with the largest bargaining unit that covers all non-police and non-management employees. The city reached a 5-year agreement through June 2022 that protects current employees' healthcare benefit structure in exchange for minimal cost of living increases. With this agreement, new employees will be provided healthcare benefits through a cafeteria plan that limits the amount the city will pay toward healthcare premiums. This agreement provides the city a good foundation for sound, long-term labor projections. For the economy, since sales tax revenue is a function of business and consumer spending, it is highly sensitive to economic cycles. Sales tax revenue is estimated to decrease by 5% in FY 2018-2019, primarily resulting from the loss of Sam's Club. Revenue growth should accelerate in 2020 as new businesses expand and empty storefronts continue to be filled. The City Council adopted Specific Plan Number 5 to streamline the development review process and facilitate new development in the downtown area. The Metro Board has approved the East San Fernando Valley Transit Corridor Light Rail project that will connect San Fernando to the Orange Line. The city expects that new business interests in the city will help energize a resurgence in the San Fernando Mall area. Here we have a pie chart showing a summary of revenues and line item breakdown of the revenue by fund. The city utilizes fund accounting to record financial transactions on the city's general ledger. The 3 types of funds used by the city are governmental funds, proprietary funds, and special funds. The largest revenue is the sales and other taxes, which brings in about $10.3 million. That's 53% of the revenue collected. Property taxes bring in about $2.45 million. That's about 13% of the revenue. And from other agencies is another $2.5 million, which is also 13%. And the remaining sources, as you can see on the pie chart, taper down from there. This is a breakdown of what Measure A funds are being used for. These funds will be used to pay off existing debt, reduce the deficit fund balance in the general fund, strengthen the self-insurance and equipment replacement funds, and fund one-time projects that address critical needs. The budget document details some of the specific projects and needs that this money will be used for, as listed here on this slide. This is a line item budget and pie chart of citywide expenditures by type. Here we can see the breakdown in the numbers that each fund will allocate for the specific expenditure in each of the four main categories. The two highest expenses come out of the personnel and maintenance and operations types. 44% of the expenses are for personnel. This would include salaries and wages, employee insurance costs, retirement and workers' comp costs, and all other employee benefit costs. 34% are for maintenance and operating expenses, which would include things like office supplies, material, and other items used in the normal operations of city departments. Also, contractual services, amounts paid for items consumed or deteriorated. 14% are allocated for capital expenses and 8% for internal service charges. Here we have a more detailed view showing the 5-year forecast of projected revenue and expenditures. You can see that from the estimate in 2018 to the adopted 2019 line, there is an adjustment of about $800 made to the operating expenses. And we can also see that the forecast shows this expenditure to continue to rise through 2024. The adopted budget includes an overall increase of approximately 0.6% in expenditures, driven by the increase of $270,000 in ongoing expenditures. More than half of the increase is offset by additional revenue. The remaining $120,000 is to account for water consumption at city facilities, parks, and medians. We can also see that in this document it is accounting for deficit and surplus accordingly, as noted with the red print for deficit amounts in each applicable year. The general fund expenditures here in this pie chart shows the biggest chunk of the budget goes to the police department, around $8 million, which is 42%, to account for some of the approved enhancements within the department. The budget has allocated about $200,000 for new purchases and replacements for the department, such as one detective vehicle, new voice recorders, and additional staff. The second highest at 16% is finance and IT. About $3 million are budgeted for the department. About $45,000 are being allocated to upgrade technology, purchase of a new firewall, data backup system, GSI server, and permit processing software. 17% is fire services. This is a contract which is $3 million as noted in the budget. 7% for recreation and community service, as well for administration. 6% for public works and community development, and 1% is allocated for city clerk. Now let's take a look at a specific department budget. Here we have an overview of the general fund for the police department. The pie chart shows how much money is allocated by division within the department. The line item budget shows the 5-year summary for revenue sources and uses. You can see that the majority of revenue is generated through the general revenue, which is about $6.8 million. Not too sure what general revenue consists of since it is not clearly defined in the document. The second largest revenue comes from parking citations, which is $525,663. For the uses, you can see that about $5.5 million has been allocated towards the patrol division. The detectives and police administration follow consecutively as the divisions with the most fund allocation at $1.1 million respectively. The funds for the other divisions taper down from there. At a glance, this budget doesn't go into detail about what specific areas are being funded within these divisions. The divisions contain their own budget, which has a drill down of each item and expenses at greater detail. We will review one of them to get a better idea of the money allocation. This is a chart showing the police department personnel numbers. They have 48.50 authorized positions, and they break it down by job title. The community service officers and crossing guards are considered part-time positions. The organizational chart identifies how many positions are held within each role and also whether it is a sworn or civilian position. So again, when we look at the main police department budget, you can see that there isn't too much detail within each of these divisions listed. We know that the funds are allocated to the four main categories, which is personnel, operating, capital expenses, and internal service charges. The police department overall number shows that $6.3 million is allocated towards personnel. $315,965 goes toward operating. $52,000 goes towards capital expenses, and $1.3 million for internal service charges. When you drill down into the specific division budget, you start to see the breakdown of expenditures. The Patrol Division has the primary responsibility for safeguarding the community, which is probably why it has the highest allocation of funds at $5.5 million. Again, the majority goes to pay personnel costs at $4.5 million. They do have some trainings for personnel and corrections that they account for within the operating costs, which is nice to see. So the police department highlights some of the prior year accomplishments in this budget document. They point out that they replaced 2 black and white units that were 8 years old. They were able to purchase and install a new server, which is critical for storage and infrastructure. They purchased new ballistic vests for all their police officers. They hired 2 new officers. They received a Navy Sea grant for about $39,000, and they received an award for their participation in the America's Night Out program. They also list some of the objectives they have identified for this fiscal year. Some of these are part of the strategic goals identified in the budget document. They are planning to fill 5 patrol positions, replace 2 old detective vehicles, replace 2 community service vehicles, replace security cameras, purchase voice recorders for police officers, and pursue grant funding. In closing, I think this budget was presented in a clear and concise manner. It was easy to read and not overwhelming. It included very simple graphs and pie charts. However, I would have liked to see the actual dollar amounts listed within the pie charts, not just the percentages. The budget message was informative and gave detailed information on what the city is doing to maintain a balanced budget. Including the budget guide was also helpful. It helped the reader understand how the budget was put together and what makes an effective budget. The individual line item budgets included for each department division were very detailed and informative. This allowed the reader to understand exactly where the funds were being allocated to. Overall, the City of San Fernando presented a good budget for review.